evening. I'm so excited and fired up and thrilled to present to you this evening. So welcome. I see, is it Judy that just joined us? Welcome to the live presentation this evening. Really fired up and excited about what's happening. We're rising above the fray of the noise that's happening around the world where COVID-19 is concerned, and just helping more and more people to actually fly and soar and come up to a higher level of consciousness. And that's what this conversation is dedicated towards. So once again, thank you for chiming in. And I know some other people are going to be joining us shortly. I got messages from different folks that wanted to be a part of this live broadcast. So really grateful. We've had a number of talks so far. We've had 3 prior to now, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 talks prior to today, starting last week Tuesday, in reference to helping people to understand first the meaning of the crisis. That was the first thought that we had. What's the meaning of the crisis? What's the meaning of this crisis? And helping people to have a very positive outlook about these changes that are happening in the world. And then the second one was an interview where I interviewed Dr. Joshua Awesome. We don't have that one recorded, unfortunately, but it was beautiful, and we'll have more of that coming up because we are partnering together to help to raise consciousness here in Africa. The next talk, was I think what was how to have peace of mind during this crisis, right? I think that was it. And then I don't remember the other ones, but they're there on YouTube. But please go there. The channel is called All in One, One in All. You are free to go there, please, and refer friends, recommend people to go and listen. The conversation is to take us up to a higher level of consciousness. So very grateful to discuss this evening and to share this information so that individuals can actually benefit tremendously from what it is that we are talking about, this discussion that we're having here. So the first thing I want to bring to our attention is what is the noise? What is the noise? I named the talk, how to mentally fly and soar above the noise of COVID-19. So the first thing to grapple with or get an understanding of is what is the noise? And the noise comes from, one, there is a virus, right? So there's a legitimate virus that's circulating itself, and individuals need to be, in a sense, have some level of understanding of what's happening there so that you can actually protect your human body from potential harm. All right. So the first thing is to understand what is happening where that is concerned, and it's not for alarm, but to recognize that yes, there is a virus. It's a flu type virus, and it has certain challenges that people will experiencing if you don't go about dealing with it the right way. So that's one. Then there is also the proliferation of this virus from different countries, and it's now spread to multiple countries around the world and has affected people in most of the countries, resulting in us having to close borders from one country to the other to minimize the spread of this virus. And then some countries are ahead of the curve of the spread, and things have stabilized in their country, and there are other countries that are actually catching up to stabilizing the situation in their own country so that we can actually reopen borders and, in a sense, have some semblance of activities come back to what we're used to. So while all of this is going on, there's a conversation happening about this. And one of the things that tends to happen is that as this conversation is going on, there is a tendency for the news to paint it in such a way that brings up a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry associated with how they paint the picture. They tend to show you the worst statistics, and they project from those statistics to what the possibilities could be if this thing gets out of control, so to speak. And that generates even more fear in terms of the thoughts, in terms of how the images that we're seeing, and how it is that the media portrays this information. It puts us in a thought cycle of fear and worry and doubt and anxiety about the future. When they start to talk talk about potential job losses and all of these things that are going to happen, it creates a mental noise that we're here this evening. And for those who are watching it in the morning where you are, and those who may watch the archive later on YouTube, we're here to discuss how to fly above this mental noise so that you don't get caught in that cycle of it. You are free from that noise. That's what we're here to talk about. So the noise comes from imbibing the information that's coming to us. Whether it's coming to us through our news media, it's coming through your social media. Like, I'll share this with you. So on my WhatsApp, somebody sent a chat, right? Breaking news was the title of the chat. Breaking news. And it says, Ogba in Lagos. This is giving city breakdown. Ogba, 100x cases. This place, 150 cases. Another place, 50 cases. And I was like, okay, so somebody's spreading more fear drama. And when that happened, I decided that, you know, let me look at the end of the message. And at the end of the message, because it was a pretty good friend of mine, at the end of the message, it said, okay, you know, I'm sorry, but what I'm talking about is not COVID-19, it's the number of pregnancies. So it was somewhat funny, yes, but what's happening is that people are becoming somewhat paranoid, right? Because of the potential risk of what this situation portends. And when we look back, we got some statistics from previous flus, and there have been flus on this planet that have killed 500 million people. So what we have in COVID-19 is not that dramatic, and we're ahead of the curve right now. We're coming to the close of it. You could start to see what the peak is going to peak in areas, and then it's going to taper off, and then it's going to decline, and then things are going to, that issue of COVID-19 will now be behind us. But while it's happening, it's bringing out, and I saw acts of kindness in communities where an organization asks people to send in pictures or videos of acts of kindness happening in your community. So breaking out, people going out and feeding the elderly, people feeding children, people going out and helping people who cannot help themselves amidst all of these challenges that are going on. So there are great things happening while all of this is happening. But how do you then maintain a place where you fly above the fray of what's happening? The first thing that you need to come to terms with is how the human mind works. Our human mind, we have a mind. What I'd love to emphasize is that you and I, we have a mind, but we're not our mind. Our mind is something that we have. I have a fingernail and so do you, right? But I'm not my fingernail. I have one, but I'm not my fingernail. All of us have a mind, but we're not our mind. We have a mind, and that mind thinks. The mind is a set of programs. And the way the mind functions, as I discussed in the last talk, is that it functions to look for the worst case scenario. So the mind is always thinking about what's the worst thing that could happen here in this situation. And that's how the human mind works. So if you then allow the media to keep bringing up, becoming the stimuli, the external, coming through your five senses, through what you're watching, what you're listening to, and the media or your social media or however it is you're getting information is continuing to feed you and bombard you with that negative information, what eventually happens is that your mind now starts to go into overdrive in looking at the worst case scenarios in employment, in business, in health, in all of these different things. And your mind now starts to spin you into a downward spiral of fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, and it keeps going down and down and down. So what we have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have to take our mind back from that process. You have to first recognize that you cannot sit down in front of CNN, constantly negative news, CNN. You cannot sit down and let them program you with a negative pattern of thinking. Also, the social media that you are allowing to come into your space, quickly delete or disconnect yourself from platforms that are just continuously sharing negative information with you. What you have to do is surround yourself with positive information. Surround yourself with information that will lift you up and take you up to a higher level of a vibration. So it's very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, that we do this. Very, very, very important that you come up to a higher level. How do you come up to a higher level? It's not just because you're listening to this conversation, you're automatically going to come up to a higher level, right? For you to come up to a higher level, ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to disconnect yourself. As challenging as it might be for some of us, you have to take your attention away from the media, right? The energy of the universe flows wherever your attention goes. So if your attention is on the negative, your energy, all of the universal energies, is bringing you more and more things to feel down about. So what you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to take your attention back. And how do you do this? Disconnect yourself from CNN. Disconnect yourself from Fox News. Disconnect yourself from constantly watching news. Maybe once a day you could get an update or go and Google it. You know, for the last several days, I have not looked on any news reports, but yet nothing is missing me. Because somehow the bits and pieces of information that are really important, they will come to your phone. They'll come to you somewhere or the other. Someone will mention it to you. You don't have to sit down and imbibe that because you're now training your thought process to be thinking constantly negatively and pulling yourself down into a negative spiral. So it's the first thing you have to do to start to fly above is to disconnect from the media and social media that's feeding you negative information. That's the first thing, right? You know, take steps in your own environment. Find out what you need to do. Washing your hands. Maybe wearing gloves if you have to go out in public. Maybe you have to wear a mask depending on where you are. And you do some of these things, but don't do them without understanding what's the purpose. Interestingly, when you wear a mask, it's not for your protection. The mask is so that you don't cough COVID onto someone. So the mask is not for you, it's for the other people who are out there. That's the purpose of the mask, right? It's to contain something that you may have, so you don't spread it, okay? Now, and a lot of people don't even recognize this. And also there's quality of mask and different things and different conversations about those things. But educate yourself. Don't become inundated. Don't drown yourself with that. Just basically get the basic information, which you could find through Google. Google has the answer for everything these days. If you go and search it, if you ask Google the right question, you'll get the answer. If you ask the wrong question, you'll get that answer too. So go and look for the information that you may need as to what you need to do to make your body safe under the current circumstances. You are safe spiritually, but your body, you may need to do some things to make sure that your body is okay as you're working through this season known as COVID-19. So to eliminate the beginning process of eliminating and flying above the noise is to disconnect yourself from the stimuli. Because once something comes through the five senses, either through your ears, through your eyes, maybe through the senses, once it comes through, it generates a thought, right? It generates a thought. Once that thought is generated, you start to pay attention to it. When you pay attention to the thought that was generated, so for example, if you see a news report that there were 100 cases of COVID in this city, and now it's 150. Wow. Then the thoughts now start to say, what if it goes to 300? What if it spreads to my area? What if I catch it? What if my neighbor catches it? What if my children catch it? And then the thoughts start to spin into a negative spiral because of what if. None of that is happening. That's just the person rehearsing in their mind a negative outcome that they do not want. And literally are praying in reverse and seeking to bring that negative outcome into their life experience. So what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is just disconnect from that, so that you're not over inundating your mind with bringing up these negative patterns of thinking, so that you become free of that stimulus or stimuli, because it's not stimulus right now, it's stimuli coming in from multiple sources. So once we are disconnected, now we're in a place where you have to take some time, ladies and gentlemen, to start to really reflect and contemplate. Reflect and contemplate. Most of us are not minding our mind. We're not looking at what's going on in the content of our mind and paying attention to what are the thoughts that we are having on a regular basis. During this period of what we call a restriction or quarantine or lockdown, depending on where you are in the world, is a great period because it will give you a chance without having to rush out in the morning to work, rush back home to take care of the children. It will give you an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to reflect and pay attention to what are the thoughts that have been running in your mind. It's an opportunity to really now take time away from the media, from social media, take time to be by yourself. One of the things about being by yourself, because some people, they cannot be by themselves. They have to be around other people. They have to be connected with people. They have to have people liking their posts on social media because there's a sense of not feeling okay by themselves. It's very important for us as individuals to be okay by ourselves, not suffering from loneliness. But we are okay whether people are around us, and we are okay whether people are around us. We are okay whether we're chatting on social media, and we're okay when we're not. It's really important to become self-aware so that you're okay regardless of what's happening around us. Now that is a high level that we can mature into, but just throwing that in there as a plug so that we start to think about being okay while we're alone. Those individuals that are okay when they're alone, they're great to be around. Those individuals who are not okay when they're alone, they are dangerous when they're around other people because they need other people. They need other people's validation. They need other people's approval. They need other people's company to feel okay. And that is a very, very uncomfortable place to be. So we need to mature out of that, ladies and gentlemen. And that's just a plug for this evening's talk. Not diving into loneliness here today. We're talking about flying mentally above the noise of COVID. We already established at the beginning of the talk what's the noise. We also spoke about what we have to do. Disconnect from the noise. Once you have disconnected from the noise, then your responsibility and my responsibility is to slow down, become still. Start to reflect, start to contemplate, start to look at what are the thoughts that have been running the show in my mind. What are the thoughts that have been running the show? It's a great time to also start to meditate, to start to become self-aware, because it is truly in your self-awareness that you will now be able to have choice. Because those people who react, some of us know human beings that react. When they see something or hear something, there's a reaction. And that reaction comes from a limited paradigm, a very limited way of seeing. When we expand our awareness to where we actually become aware of a higher level of consciousness, what happens is when that trigger comes in, we see the reaction happening in our mind, but we're not as affected by it as someone who is living from a narrow perspective or a narrow point of view. So for you to fly mentally above the fray, the noise, one, you have to become self-aware. You have to be minding your mind. You have to become aware of what are the thoughts that are thinking through our mind. Because most people, it's the media that's thinking through them right now. They believe that it's them thinking, but it's the media's repetitive information about what's happening, what could happen, what could possibly happen. I've seen people driving around in their car and they have the mask on their face in their car. They don't even know what the purpose of the mask is, because it's to protect the person who you're meeting, not you. The mask is not to protect you. The mask is not so you don't inhale COVID. The mask is so you don't cough it out on someone else. And people are driving with the mask on their face in their car because they have been driven by fear associated with what the media has been spinning out for them, because they've been sitting down at home watching CNN, constantly negative news, to keep themselves informed about what's happening, not realizing that that's coding their subconscious with negative information, living in a sense of fear. And when they go out there in paranoia, I've been to the supermarket yesterday, and some of the people are just trembling. They're just literally trembling, have on gloves and masks and, rushing to get in, rushing to get out, because they're thinking that something is going to get them. And it's because of the imbibing of all this negative information, which has not been serving them well. So you're not of that group. You're not doing that because you're here having this dialogue with me, right? Monologue, yes, but yes, you're speaking. I'm hearing you speaking on the other side. You're hearing, yeah, and I see the love signs going up every now and then, right? You're saying, yes, I know you're speaking with me. This is a dialogue we're having, not a monologue, right? All right? So The first thing we need to do, disconnect ourselves from that. So that's not stimulating negative patterns of thought. First thing. The second thing now, you need to reflect. You need to contemplate. You need to slow down so you can catch back up with life. You need to become self-aware. To where now you start to recognize you're not your mind. You start to see the mind and the programs or thought processes that are running through your mind. As you start to observe them, it gives you choice, right? I saw somebody just put up another love heart. Thank you for that, right? So you start to see, ladies and gentlemen, right? You start to see what's going on in your mind. You start to observe the content of your mind. Become aware of what's there. Because if you're not, you're just allowing these programs which came from culture, which came from our environment, which came from the things that are happening around us, the stimuli that are coming up from various things going on. And those thoughts are running the show, and running your thoughts lead to your emotions, and your emotions lead to your actions. So if your thoughts are coming from the world right now, they're predominantly negative, which means that you're having a negative feeling state. And then therefore your body is in a constant state of anxiety and fear and worry. But when you have extricated yourself from that, you are self-aware, and you're now able to see the thoughts that are going on in your mind, you can let those negative ones start to fall away. And here's the beautiful thing about observing the content of your mind. The thoughts in your mind start to change. There's a process called transmutation, where your observation changes things at a subatomic level. So once you observe something, you've started to change it. And the thing about changing negatives with your awareness, with your attention, is that you're changing it from something negative into something positive by just simply becoming aware of what's there. Because our awareness, we are, you are, I, each of us, we are really awareness. We are awareness. We are what is aware of what's happening. For example, right now you're listening to me, but you're listening to me through your ears, or you're looking at my picture through your eyes. You're not seeing me with your eyes, and you're not hearing me with the ears. You're hearing me with your consciousness. You're seeing me with the eye beyond these two eyes. So there's something within us that hears and sees. And that aspect of ourselves is called awareness. When that aspect of ourselves is very narrow and limited, you live in a reactionary way. But when it's expanded, and you have expanded awareness, you're able to see more clearly from a higher vantage point. And you're flying above the noise that's happening with COVID, right? So how to arrive at this space where you actually have expanded awareness to where you're no longer being driven by fear and worry and doubt and anxiety that's pervading human consciousness right now, is that you have to plug yourself out of the matrix. You have to plug yourself from that media. You have to plug yourself from social media, plug yourself from watching the news, and disconnect from that. Allow your mind now to start to settle down from all the running that it was doing wild, right? Allow the mind to start to settle down. In addition to that, start to contemplate. Start to look at the content of your mind, reflection, contemplation. So you're observing what are the thoughts that are running through your mind. You're paying very close attention to this and becoming self-aware. As your awareness continues to expand, and how do you expand your awareness? You have to take time to meditate. You have to become still, become silent from maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds at first in the mornings when you just get up from bed. Extend that gradually to a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Currently, when I meditate in the mornings, I meditate anywhere from 30 minutes of sitting in silence with my eyes, my physical eyes closed, and becoming more and more self-aware. Up to sometimes 1 hour of complete silence. So I have a clear picture of what it is that's happening in my mind, and I don't just say things out of my mouth. I pay attention to what my mind is offering me to say, and I look at it to see if this is something I want to say. Do I really want to say this? And I use a test. Is this something that will build up, or is it something that will tear down? And I pay very close attention to that. But you cannot do that as a practice until you have developed an expanded awareness to be able to see what the content of your thinking is, ladies and gentlemen. And when you can see what's coming up and being offered to you by the mind, which is a set of programs, once you've been able to see what it's offering you, then you're in a place of choice. When you cannot see what the mind is offering, and you're living from a narrow perspective, or a very narrow point of view, what happens is that when something happens, there's a reaction that comes. And the reaction is what comes out of our mouth, or behavior. So you want to move out of human reaction living. You want to be a responder, but you cannot respond to a situation or a circumstance if you are not living with expanded awareness. So your role as an individual is to start to do practices that will help you to have an expanded awareness. This particular season of COVID, as we are moving out now into the closure of it, because we are now going to move into closure of this COVID conversation, right? All storms pass. That's the nature of a storm. It's for a season. No storm lasts forever. All storms come to an end. So this will end. Now, as it's coming to an end, what have you captured from this? What have you gained in insight, in revelation, in understanding? One of the things that I'm passionate about working on is for us to come together to create a better world. It's happening, right? There are many people having conversations currently as to how we're going to have a better world. And I'm one of those who's participating in it, and I'm seeking to have other individuals come together with us so that we can have a conversation about creating a better world. It is up to us to create a world. A world doesn't create automatically. It creates based on agreements. The narrative and the agreement that we've had coming up to COVID-19 is a world that was built on selfishness, greed, avarice, self-aggrandizement, envy, jealousy, competition. Now, that world has resulted in a lot of challenges for us. So that world is currently falling apart. Some people are trying to save that world, but it won't work. That world is over. Now, it's our responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, to have a narrative about the type of world that we want to live in. And the world that we're seeking to live in, ladies and gentlemen, is a world of abundance. No longer living from scarcity, lack, not enough. It's a world of plenitude. It's a world of shared prosperity. It's a world where everything is working for everyone. Where food, clothing, shelter, electricity, the basic things that human beings need to function are actually available for each and every one of us as legitimate needs that are being provided by us collectively. Not being provided for us on an individual level per se, but being provided by us collectively. So we're working together collectively to have a foundation. It's like, for example, let's look at life. Oxygen is provided in abundance. Nobody has to, like I said, everybody here, take a deep breath right now. Right? Nobody first said, hold on, Harry, let me go get my bank account, let me get my card to check, let me get my tank. Nobody has air stored up, waiting, to dole some out, right? Everybody is comfortable taking a breath because nobody's worried about the availability of oxygen. So our Creator has provided an abundance of oxygen for you and I to benefit from, right? So we as beings created in the image and likeness of the same Creator, we can come together with the world's resources, which is abundant. There's no shortage when it comes to the planet's resources. What's short is our imagination to distribute those resources in an equitable way so that all countries and all individuals on the planet have access to the things that we need to meet our legitimate needs. So as our legitimate needs of food and clothing and shelter are being met by our collective agreement, it's our narrative now that's changed. So you and I are changing the narrative. We're no longer agreeing with a narrative that there's not enough. We're no longer agreeing with a narrative that says that there is lack and there's limitations and, you have to hoard, you have to be careful because, this may run out or that may run out. For example, we saw selfishness with toilet paper in the United States where people were hoarding toilet tissue. Right? Selfishness is so strong that people have to hold on to toilet paper. Right? That's how crazy the human being can be at times, right? So you and I, ladies and gentlemen, we are no longer in that group. We are moving away from that world. We are now working together to identify those who are sincere. And how do you play your part? Very simple. Become self-aware. Self-awareness is really what will help us to change that dynamic. Because when you become self-aware, you become selfless in your thought process. Because self-awareness carries inspired thinking. Your thinking becomes one of abundance, one of prosperity, one of peace, joy, love, one of genius, innovativeness, creativity. Those are the type of thoughts that flow from an individual who has an expanded awareness. The thoughts that flow from somebody who has a narrow point of view is based first on fear, because it's that individuals feel separate from their good, separate from life, separate from those around them. And with that fear becomes envy, jealousy, greed, competition, self-aggrandizement. All of that happens at that level. And that's the base level of the human being, which spins itself out from the reptilian brain that's at the base of the back of the skull. Now, as humans mature, they're starting to think with the frontal lobe. And those of us who meditate, our two frontal lobes start to communicate with one another. And there's a coherence that happens, which is aligned with the fundamental harmony of the universe. So you, ladies and gentlemen, as you become self-aware and you meditate and you rise up to a high level of consciousness, your frontal lobes start to communicate. You start to think about selflessness. You no longer have a fear of worry and doubt and anxiety and fretfulness about your life. You feel supported. You feel imbued from within. You have love overflowing, joy overflowing, peace overflowing. You are now coming into the world and you're adding and bringing these gifts and talents which you're loaded and coded with to bear. So that's the world that we're seeking to have manifest itself. And to allow that world to become a real world for us to live in, we have to create it. We have to create it. It's not going to just happen, but we have to have a narrative. Remember, words become flesh and they dwell among us. So everything begins with a set of words. So we're changing our language. And as more of us start to speak about abundance and wholeness and perfection and prosperity and peace and joy from within, as that language starts to pick up and more people start to recognize that peace and joy are natural states. It's not acquisition of things that allow you to be happy or allow you to have peace of mind. And as more people become to that level of awareness, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation changes, because more of us are speaking with that vibration and that frequency, and more of us are at that level. Then it will bring up the base of people on the planet to a high level of thinking, and they will also gradually see that their awareness is expanding as well, and all of us will see this glorious world together. It's spoken about we're all flesh, shall see it together. So we'll be able to see together a glorious manifestation, which people will call miraculous. People will say, wow. Some people are going to be blown away by what they're going to see with changes that are actually happening already. Talks already are put as to how we're going to have, solar and hydro as electrical supply worldwide, where people won't have to be ferreting for that. So you have to start thinking ahead. How are you going to fit into this world? Because this is going to be a world of peace and joy and love, prosperity for the whole. Those people who are still at the reptilian level, we're going to have to take care of them. And people, I didn't create the word for reptilian brain, okay? The reptilian brain is at the base of the skull. That's the name that we gave it, okay? It came as a hand-me-down from reptiles, and it still operates, and a lot of human beings think from this brain. That's the individuals that live purely based on survival needs, and all they can think about is how to survive, and all they have to think about is how am I going to survive, and they live from the reptilian brain. Okay, so some of those individuals will still be on the planet and we'll still have to take care of them. We will have to come together as they mature and they start to think from the frontal lobe. And as the frontal lobe starts to take over, they'll start to become more kind. They will start to develop compassion. They'll start to develop gentleness, and their behavior patterns will change. So that's what we're working on, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this conversation is ultimately about. So you can fly above the noise. To recap and to summarize as we end, first thing you have to do to soar above the noise of COVID-19 is, one, you have to get rid of the stimuli. You can't sit down and be watching CNN, constantly negative news over and over again. You can't be plugging into media and social media that's bringing you negative data. You have to disconnect yourself from that. Once you have done that, you've started to slow your mind down. With the slowing down of your mind, the next thing, you have to take time now to be still and reflect and contemplate on the content of your mind so that you could start to sweep out negative thoughts and change them into positive thoughts because you're seeing the negative patterns in your thought process in your mind. It's your responsibility to reflect and contemplate. Then after, while you're doing that, you're learning how to do your meditation. You're doing meditation because meditation helps you to expand your awareness. With expanded awareness, you have choice. Choice to make better choices about your future, but also you're able to see more clearly how it is that you should be responding to what's happening around you. You open up yourself with expanded awareness to your genius, your innovativeness, your resourcefulness, love, peace, joy, abundance, wholeness, perfection. Those essences start to flow easily and unceasingly from you when you are in a state of expanded awareness. So that's what your responsibility is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so fired up, as you could see, and I'm enthused. You know, I'm fired up, man. Fully ignited, releasing energy. Right? Releasing unlimited power, right? Fully ignited, releasing energy, right? Fire. Fully ignited, releasing energy. That's me. I'm fired up, right? On unlimited power. I have unlimited power in me, man. The power in me is unlimited. No limit to it. Can't run dry. It flows constantly, effortlessly, easily. And I'm really excited and grateful to have had this conversation with us. So I pray that you got something from today's talk that you can take, you could share. When we post this on YouTube, please share it with family and friends, you know, when we blast this out. And the story will be on our Instagram page for you to be able to have, or listen to it again, because sometimes I speak so fast that some of what I may have said may have missed you. So thank you, each and every one of you. I don't see all the names here, but there's so many names here. So thankful, so grateful for you. Everyone who took time to away from whatever else you may be doing and came to this channel to sit and listen and take some notes. I pray you did and benefit from the content of the information shared. I bless each and every one of you. I want to see you at the top of life. The omnipotent palace. The omnipotent palace. That's top, right? That's where each and every one of us already are in consciousness. We just need to catch up to that level on our own conscious level. All right. So thank you once again. Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. You are a magnificent, wonderful, amazing, brilliant, luminous, wonderful being of grand light. And you're here to reveal that light so that we can change this world and make it a better place. All right. So bye for now until Sunday. On Sunday, we'll have another talk. And I'll share with you guys what that's going to be about soon. All right. Bless you once again. And bye for now.